Hey, welcome back everybody. So, you remember in the last video how I told you I was going to tell you how I met Drew and how we'd been friends for so long. Well, I'm going to include that in this video. This is going to be a video about my hometown, Hollywood, Florida. I'm going to tell you about what life was like there, some memories that I have. So originally I moved to Hollywood, Florida, where I would later meet my friend Andrew, because my father said that there was some work there and I was going to go work with him and get an apartment and settle down in my first place. It wasn't like a property that I would own, it would just be a place that I was renting. But I was going there for my first apartment and my first, sort of my first job. And what I was doing was I was helping a crew that drilled holes in concrete. I helped them take that concrete to a bin. So I was more or less just a laborer. But it was a good job and I had really good bosses, Scott and Steve. Nicest people you'd ever want to meet. And it was hard work and it was really easy to stay in shape at that job. One of the guys there by the name of Terry helped me move a few times. And, when I was about, I think it was like 19 or 20. When you're that age and you get your first job, you start making a new kind of friend. You start making work friends, and it's this really crazy thing. Like they're friends at work, and you're doing the same thing, and they're not like your school friends when you were growing up, and they're not quite like your friends from the neighborhood. It was a whole new experience, and it was really cool. It was good having friends like Terry, Louie, Emilio, Rodney, and Cliff. We were all a team doing different jobs together. In Hollywood, Florida, there's this place called downtown, which, a lot of cities have a downtown, but Hollywood is a little more straightforward. It's just past the railroad tracks, just past Town Hall, and then you're there. It was just a straight shot from the courthouse next to the apartment where I lived. And that's where all the shops were. That's where all the cool stuff was, were the restaurants, at the time there were clubs where people would have parties, and it was really cool. It was a lit up area, and it still kind of was when I left. One of those places downtown where you could go to hang out was a lounge called the Megabyte Lounge, and apparently they had the coldest beer in Broward. I never tested it, but I had gone there just because I wandered downtown and wanted to see what was in the area. And Drew was working behind the counter, and someone, I think it was Drew, mentioned that there was a talent show that night and you could just sign up and do your thing. So I did that. So for the talent show, what I did, now you have to understand this was a long time ago, there was an internet prank that was going around called getting Rick-rolled. Some of you might be old enough to remember it. But what would happen was you would click on a video, you would think you were getting some kind of cool video you were looking for, and it's Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. So that's what I did. I went up on stage and I Rick-rolled everyone. Drew thought it was hilarious. The other friends that he had there, Summer and James, all had a good healthy laugh. It was a good time where I met these nice people. Come to think of it, I don't think the Megabyte Lounge is there anymore. When I left Hollywood, it was a Indonesian cuisine restaurant, and the other side of the shop was like a psychic's office, so you could go there and get your fortune told. So I didn't stay in Hollywood too long when I moved there. I wasn't a nomad like I am now, but I stayed there maybe 2 years. It was about 2 years where I was helping this crew who cut concrete, but then I went back to Deerfield Beach, and that was its own story. I may or may not tell it in the future. I don't know, but it's also interesting, but not as happy. But I did end up moving back to Hollywood another time. It was a few years later. I think it was like 6 years later I would move back to Hollywood, and that is its own thing. When I did move back to Hollywood, I had a really cool landlord. Like, we're still friends to this day. And he was a Turkish guy named Andy, and he he had this house where he had it divvied up so it could accommodate more people, and it was just really nicely put together. Um, he's very skilled as far as keeping and maintaining a house. Um, Lots of stories there, lots of good times. But Andy rented to me when I was in kind of a tight spot, so again, really appreciate Andy for that. Over the years of staying at this place that Andy had rented to me, I had a lot of really cool roommates. Some that weren't all that great, but most of them were awesome. There was this Macedonian dude named Goche, and I got to sort of hang out with him while he was in the process of getting his citizenship. So I got to see what it was like to live in the US while getting your citizenship, while working, while staying in touch with family overseas. It was a big challenge to see someone go through, but Goche really took the bull by the horns, and I'm still really proud of him. There was also this dude from Istanbul named Attila, and he was a DJ down in Miami, and this guy was the definition of cool. I mean, he was working all the time, just putting in the effort and hosting what looked like these really cool parties. He had like Instagram for it. I think he's still doing it. I mean, this guy lives how everyone should live, at least for a while in their life. He's having fun, doing what he loves, and making good money off of it. Having fun just to the nth degree. He was having a good old time. And I envied him a little bit, but I was also really happy for him because he was living the life. And there was this other dude, Tolga. He was really cool too. I liked living with Attila and Tolga. They're really nice people. And Tolga was just a chill dude. He was a veteran of the Turkish military, and I think he got his citizenship already by the time I met him, but he was just living life here. He was, I want to say, a host for a high-end restaurant. Very chill, very fun to talk to. Just a nice person to see every day. And that was life back in Hollywood, Florida. That was kind of the highlights of it. You know when you're away from home and you're thinking about it and you see it through rose-colored glasses. But that's Hollywood, Florida through rose-colored glasses. It's not a bad place. I've definitely been to better cities, but there hasn't been people that I've met that are better than Andy, Goche, Attila, and Tolga, or Drew. It was just, I met some quality people there, and, they all moved away, but except for Andy. Andy's still there. He's still awesome. But, when you're on the road, you're missing home, and when you're a nomad, you miss what used to be. But, that having been said, my next destination is going to be Monterrey, Mexico. That's not next in the Nomad Chronicles. That's way ahead. Way, way ahead. So we'll have a lot more stories about the places I've been. And then eventually we will get to Monterrey, and I'll tell you about what life is like after I've been there. Thanks for coming by. I hope you guys enjoyed the little backstory I have on Drew and Hollywood, Florida. If you want to help out Drew and Shay get their first home, go ahead and click on the GoFundMe in the description. If you want to learn English with me, you can do so at www.we-speak-english.com.